Now, did you hear that lady just say that?
Mhm.
Okay, I don't know how to turn that off. All right, so I'm here with Mimi Stiles. We are waiting to start. I like to start right on time. It's 10:59. We have a minute left. So tell me something about yourself that people don't know, Mimi.
Oh gosh, there's a lot. One thing is that I lived in Alaska for quite some time, and I was a news anchor in Alaska,
Oh, wow. What part of Alaska?
Fairbanks.
Fairbanks. I had a grandfather that owned a little general store in Anchorage, I believe it was.
Love Anchorage. I love Anchorage. Beautiful place.
But I've never been brave enough to try to go there. It's cold. It's
Super
cold.
cool.
Yeah. I'm a big baby. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we have hit 11 o'clock. I'd like to welcome our nonprofit leaders. I am going to quickly try to go into Facebook on my phone so that when people come in, I can see. This is the kind of thing that takes me a little too long each time. All right, here we go. All right, we have 2 people watching. If you're here, would you do me the favor of just writing into the comments, I'm here, so I know who's here. I'm Nancy Manning, founder of Power Your Mission and Austin Nonprofit Meetup. Our guest today is Mimi Stiles, founder and president of Measure. Welcome, Mimi.
Good morning. Good morning. Glad to be here.
Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself to start?
Yeah, I always start out with I am a mom of 4, 2 adult kids, 1 teenager, and 1 infant. And I am also the wife of a US veteran who is retired. And I also get to be the president and the founder of this amazing Black woman-led nonprofit organization based in Austin, but we do work everywhere, called Measure. We have had the opportunity to do some very impactful work, work that has literally changed laws. And so just very excited to be able to wake up every day and do this as my work.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Well, tell us about your work. Tell us about the organization you founded.
Absolutely. Well, so at Measure, we are really working to mobilize communities to disrupt disparities using data, using the power of data to community build, to build power within the community, to really encourage people again to tell their story, and then to go and make change, go forth and make change with data, with the power of data, with storytelling, to be honest. And so at Measure, we're a research and public education organization. Again, we're led by all Black women. We do have one also amazing Black man that's also on our leadership team. And we believe that, that lived experience data and quantitative data about complex social problems impacting people of color are not used effectively for change. And that's because of historical and cultural racism, the lack of great evaluation tools, and the lack of village support. So we meet those needs head on.
Wow. As you're talking, I feel like I wish I had an hour with you or a day, or let's do lunch, because you are this amazing person. When I was looking at the little timeline, I didn't tell you I was going to mention this. You decided you were going to do something about Austin Police Department's policing, and you delivered to them a community policing method. So can I ask you that quick question? Did they respond? Did they use it?
Yeah, I mean, Austin Police Department absolutely has a long way to go. We also have the clear understanding that, there are some things that are being done at the police department that are probably better done with people that have experience and expertise in those fields, you know? And so but yeah, back in 2015, it was really all about this notion of community policing and trying to understand community policing. That's really kind of where many of us were, you know, thinking like, okay, well, this might be a part of the solution. There's many different parts, but you know, and so what Measure did was that we started the Measure Austin project, and that was really bringing together community members, activists like myself, police officers into one room to come up with a core set of metrics. And what we were able to do was provide them really clear guidance on what we thought might be, you know, great for community policing. And what they did end up doing is they hired people within the police department that are now very interested and intentional about this notion of community policing. Don't think that it's the answer, especially without evidence-based policing being a part of that equation, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Wow, so impressive. Okay, tell us about those tools that you use. We talked about the care model. So start with that. I'm going to turn my video off and just let you go.
Sure. So at Measure, what we do is we provide free data and evaluation support to Black and Brown led organizations for free. We have been able to successfully do over 3,000 hours of just free evaluation support to organizations that just need to, you know, just maybe need some insights or need to measure their progress, or they may need just a really great, robust evaluation plan to really prove their concept. It's something that that I wish I had when I got my start. No one talked to me about, you know, needing to create a theory of change, or no one talked to me about what it looks like to have an organization and a nonprofit and need to measure your community impact. No one said these things to me. And so at Measure, that's what we do. We have 4 tools that we use in the form of evaluation and support to provide to Black and Brown led organizations. We also use these tools with other corporations, with universities such as Texas Southern University, University of Texas, several others, Houston Tillotson University, and so forth. New York, NYU. I mean, we've been everywhere right at this point, but we're able to charge these larger corporations and universities so that we're able to do this work for free for Black and Brown led orgs. Care model is our biggest tool. And I just say it's a tool. It's not a solution, but it's a tool. And what that tool does is that it it's a partnership really between a certified measure educator like myself and an organization. And we walk them through for 3 full months. We are their partner, okay, in justice. And we talk about who is the community that they're trying to address. You know, what is the problem? Community in agreement with what you say is the problem. So often we nonprofit gurus think of the problem without even asking the community, right?
Wow.
So yeah, and so that's where that's the basis and the foundation of the care model. It's really aligning with the community and then coming up with solutions that the community also agrees with, and then measuring our progress in fixing that problem and solving that problem.
This is such a big topic. You mentioned certified measure educator. You also train people to become certified in this, apparently, correct?
That's absolutely correct. Essentially, we are, you know, kind of disrupting the field of research, right? I mean, we all have a very high respect for academia and traditional academia. I'm an academic, but I also believe that the expertise that lies within the community, people with lived experience, people that are, you know, most impacted, are also the very best when it comes to being able to articulate what they're going through and what solutions they need for their own community. So essentially, Measure is training up a fleet of researchers. So these researchers might be people that have been, just again, mostly impacted by disparate outcomes. And we're teaching them how to use our tools within their own community so that they can support the progress of change.
Could you go through those 4 tools again? Just could you, like on the website, I noticed, does one organization, can they use all 4 tools? Is it a like a staggered use of the tools? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, typically we do one tool at a time. Now there are some, like for example, we do work with like the city of Austin, and they may need a very deep dive about an issue, and so we might use a couple of tools to identify those particular issues and try to gather insights. But so Measure's evaluation tools have gone through a very extensive community-led process where we are trying to authentically represent the people in our work. We even routinely reevaluate our own tools. So these tools were not just created in a vacuum, right? Like the CARE model took over 400 people to give feedback on the design of the CARE model. We had over 20 community leaders come in and give even more feedback about the design of the CARE model. The CARE model, again, it results in a community mobilization guide so that nonprofits can have a guide on, okay, this is my target community, this is my theory of change, these are my metrics, this is how I am, this is my data collection plan. So they leave our support with these great tools. And then we also have the Measure Equity Focus Group tool, and this is pretty innovative when it comes to research and the traditional focus group. It is a way that it's conducting a focus group with in an anti-racist way. And that, I would say, is probably our most widely used tool for big corporations or cities and so forth. And then we have our community impact metric tool. That's actually a part also inside of the CARE model, but some organizations don't need all of the things. They just need to know how to measure their impact. And so that's why we have the community impact metric tool. We take them through a process of creating their theory of change. We then use our theory of change in order to identify our inputs, our outputs, and then the outcomes, which at Measure we call their CIM-ID, their Community Impact Metric ID. I believe that every organization has an ID. They can be identified in what they do through just a couple of core impact metrics. And then at Measure, we also have a survey, our community design survey tool. So far, often we see all of these surveys go out, right? And we have no idea where they came from. Well, we believe that community should be the ones designing their own survey. They should be the ones looking at the data. They should be the ones that are interpreting the data and thus telling their own story through the data. And so these are our bread and butter is what we do and is what we love to do. The CARE model, CARE stands for community, advocacy, resilience, and evidence. So when we facilitate the CARE model, all of those core components of that acronym really bubbles to the top. So we're deep diving into critical race theory. We're deep diving into anti-racism through evaluation. And if you're not being anti-racist in your work and your evaluation and everything that you do, then you might be someone that is perpetuating racism. So it's really very important.
So I have about 150 questions. I mean, wow. So I was gonna ask this question until you kind of started answering, and it was when I learned about evaluation, and look, I'll be honest, it's not my specialty at all. It's one of my weak areas in nonprofit work. I'm board development and fundraising are my research development are my 2 primary areas. And so when I do a little bit on evaluation with nonprofits, I'm always talking about inputs, outputs, outcomes, and you talked about that. And I was going to say, how does that model, it's basically the logic model, I think, isn't it? Input, output, outcomes. How does that work into what you're doing? And I think the answer is this, right? That the community makes decisions about the inputs, outputs, outcomes, right? Am I saying that correctly?
You are, you're saying that perfectly. Gosh, you ought to be a certified measure educator at this point. Yeah, so we start this dialogue with community members from the very beginning. Even when we're identifying the problem, we have a 2-week break within the care model where the organization has to create a convening of community members. They have to ask community members, is the problem the problem? And if not, what did we get right or what did we get wrong? So we believe that evaluation is constant. It's constantly happening. There's constant communication between community. There's this constant feedback loop. Even at the very end of the care model, when they have decided these are my metrics, there needs to be constant feedback with the community just to make sure that they got it right.
It gives new meaning to the term outreach. We've been talking about outreach for 100 years with nonprofit work, outreach and communications. We didn't know what we were talking about when we were talking about that. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, outreach really means relationship. And if you don't have a relationship with people, then you're not really creating authentic outreach. It should be actionable too. So when you're doing outreach and relationship building and, asking for feedback, you should be willing to change something based on the feedback. And if you're not willing to give up power like that, then you're not really doing any authentic outreach.
do you watch Ethical Rainmakers or listen to Ethical Rainmakers?
No, I've never heard of it.
Podcast. There's one called White Women Are the Gatekeepers or something like that. I'll send you a link. You'll enjoy it a lot. This has it's 11:16 already. I don't know how that happened so quickly. I do have a lot more that I would love to talk to you about and see if we can do something together. You talked about even storytelling. I'll reach out to you because I have some ideas that I want to run by you. You are this amazing woman, and I'm so glad you're young because you have a lot left to do.
Thank you.
I'm on the other end of that.
Thank you. Well, I have a 5-month-old, and she doesn't make me feel too young right now, but I hope to get that back.
Thank you so very much. I just wanted to remind people to come to the July 15th meetup. We're doing networking and how networking can enhance the impact of your nonprofit. And well, stay tuned for all of the July stuff that's going to happen. And in August, we have Sorrow that's going to do some evaluation stuff. Sorrow and Michelle Molina. So, but I want to visit with you. I know you're very, very busy, Mimi, but I hope I can visit with you. I'll send you an email about the one idea for sure that I've got. So I can't thank you enough for the amazing work you're doing, the awareness that you're creating. It makes me want to learn and do more in that area. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, folks, we'll see you next time. Thank you for coming.
Bye-bye.